Wall Street ends higher after the Fed keeps interest rates unchanged. Chairman Jerome Powell says the September rate cut on the table if inflation data continues to cool. Asian markets start on a mixed note while the GIFT Nifty is indicating a positive start for the Indian markets. Brent crude is back above $80 a barrel amid lingering concerns about potential supply disruptions as tensions in West Asia mount following the death of Hamas's chief. Gold prices also extend gains following the Fed chair's commentary on inflation and interest rates. Tata Steel's first quarter results come in largely in line with estimates. Europe performance improves while net debt rises sequentially on higher working capital requirements, while it was a good performance from Coal India for the first quarter. In earnings today, ITC's profit is expected to rise 4% while margins may see a slight decline. Also watch out for numbers from Tata Motors, Sun Pharma and Adani Enterprises. And Infosys faces a demand from the DGGI and the Karnataka state GST authorities for tax evasion from July 2017 to 2021-22. The claim involves unpaid IGST under the reverse charge mechanism for services received from overseas branches. The company believes that as per regulation, GST is not applicable on these expenses. The Fed is getting there. The Nifty is almost there as well. There is a lot to catch up on this Thursday morning. Hello and welcome to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormis Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets are faring this morning. It's a mixed picture as we speak. Most of the indices are trading with gains. The Hang Seng, though, is trading with a slightly negative bias, down 0.2%. The Taiwanese index is the outperformer, trading with gains of close to 2%. But the actual underperformance is coming from Japan. And that's because the Nikkei over there is trading with losses of over 3%. The benchmark index is trading with losses of over 3%. The Topix also is trading with losses of close to 4%. And that also comes after the country confirmed that there was a foreign exchange intervention done by the government there for the yen. So the benchmark indices in Japan seeing a bit of a struggle this morning, but the rest of the Asian indices are mostly in the green as we speak. Pull up the GIFT Nifty as well, and that is indicating a positive start. The 61-point implied open, a positive start for our own markets. The Nifty is 49 points away from 25,000. So a 60-point implied open is suggesting a start above the mark of 25,000 for the index. But moving on to Wall Street then, where benchmark indices rallied on Wednesday after the US Fed held interest rates. The S&P 500 jumped over 1.5%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq advanced 2.5%. Now, both the indices recorded their best single-day performance since February of this year. The Dow Jones was an underperformer, but still added 100 points to its tally yesterday. Now, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that the central bank will be ready to cut interest rates in September if the data continues to show that inflation is coming down. CNBC's Steve Leisman now joins us with the key highlights from the Fed policy.
Federal Reserve left rates unchanged, but changed its statement in a way that may lay the groundwork for future rate cuts, though it doesn't necessarily guarantee it. I'll start off with the most important changes, where the Fed said the risk to its employment and inflation goals, quote, continue to move into better balance rather than just have moved into better balance. And the committee says it is attentive to risks on both sides of the mandate, not just highly attentive to the inflation risk, which it had been saying for quite some time. They did continue to say that there won't be cuts, or they don't believe that there should be cuts until they have greater confidence of inflation moving towards a 2% goal. But they did talk about jobs and inflation. Let me go through that. They said job gains have moderated. That's a downgrade from remain strong in the prior statement. They noted the rise in the unemployment rate, but added that it remains low. They previously just said that the unemployment rate remains low. The statement notes an improved outlook on inflation, saying it has eased and remains somewhat elevated, adding the word somewhat. So they're less concerned, as you can see, with the inflation level. I said there's been some progress towards the 2% target, not just modest further progress. Guys, I'll leave it there with really, it's a change in the balance of risks, I would say, from one where they clearly indicated they had their keen eye and highly attentive to inflation. Now they're watching both sides of the mandate. But I wouldn't say they guarantee a rate cut in the next meeting. They maybe just laid the groundwork for one if they feel it's necessary and the data cooperate between now and the September meeting.
if we were to see, for example, inflation moving down quickly or more or less in line with expectations, growth remains, let's say, reasonably strong, and the labor market remains, consistent with its current condition, then I would think that a rate cut could be on the table at the September meeting. If inflation were to prove, stickier, and we were to see higher readings from inflation, disappointing readings, we would weigh that along with the other things. I think it's going to be not just any one thing. It's going to be the inflation data. It's going to be the employment data. It's going to be the balance of risks as we see it. It's going to be the totality of all of that help us make this decision. The thing we're trying to do is, that we have we've had this really significant decline in inflation, and unemployment has remained low. And this is a really unusual and historically unusual and such a welcome outcome for the people we serve. What we're thinking about all the time is, how do we keep this going? And this is part of that. We think we don't need to be 100% focused on inflation because of the progress we've made. 12-month headline at 2.5, core at 2.6. It's way down from where it was. The job is not done on inflation, but nonetheless, we can afford to begin to dial back the restriction in our policy rate.
And let us now also listen in to what David Zervos, the chief market strategist at Jefferies, has to say about the Fed's decision to keep interest rates unchanged.
Jay was using it over and over again to describe the labor market. He doesn't see anything sinister. He sees a kind of normalizing market. If they see something more sinister, they have plenty of ammo to act and will act. But I think they're in a good place. He said they're in a good place. He doesn't see an economy that's overheating. He doesn't see an economy that's really showing signs of any major dislocation. September's definitely on the table. The data are going to determine it. And if they get what they think they're going to get, which is modest payroll growth,
September is definitely on the table. That's the consensus there from the street. But that's all we have on the global market action. How will all of these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team now joining in with the trade setup, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and of course the F&O setup as well. First up, Vivek joins in to get the market cues this morning. Vivek, good morning. What's the setup looking like today?
Well, good morning. Thanks to overnight global cues, which are very strong. U.S. markets ended heavy, in the green, and you actually saw the tech-heavy Nasdaq doing very well, 2.6% higher. Possible rate cut is something that lifted the sentiment. However, one thing to keep in mind was that overnight oil prices spiked up on the back of geopolitical tensions. Brent prices are almost 2.7% higher, and that was something where now Brent crude is trading about the $88.5 a barrel mark. Indian markets, yesterday was another day of a near miss when you're seeing the 25,000 level. So that is something that the market participants will be excited about. Along with that, one thing to realize is that the mid-cap and the small-cap end of the markets continue to do very well. Mid-cap index outperformed, continued. Mid-cap index ended about the 59,000 level. So that's something that's very, very strong. Market breadth yesterday was slightly neutral. Advance decline ratio largely, 1:1. That was something that we saw. And mid-cap pharma yesterday did very well. Today, quite a lot of cues. There are a lot of earnings even today, and a lot of companies will react to results that were declared overnight. So Coal India, Bank of Baroda, Tata Steel will react. And key results today, Coal India, Sun Pharma, ITC. And when you're talking about how the morning setup or the morning cues look like, Asian markets largely mixed. Japan has seen a bit of a sell-off, but other Asian markets and GIFT Nifty indicating a mild green start for our own markets.
Plenty of things to keep an eye out for. Vivek, thanks a lot for that. But earnings season continues, earnings reactions, and a lot of stocks in focus as well. Vamakshi is here to list out all of that. Vamakshi, good morning.
Well, good morning, Hormas. Let me first start off with Tata Steel. The company reported EBITDA per ton for the India business, which was in line with estimates. Tata Steel Europe has actually reported the lowest EBITDA per ton loss since Q2 of FY23. The net profit has come in a tad bit lower as compared to expectations, but that is mainly on account of an exceptional item. Bank of Baroda reported NII in line, net profit slightly lower than what we were expecting. NIM at 3.18% dips lower quarter on quarter as well as year on year. Net NPA, however, was flat at 0.69%. Coal India's margin improved 160 basis points, but the net profit saw an uptick of 4.2%. GET&D India has reported a strong set. Revenue, EBITDA margin as well as net profit is at a multi-quarter high. EBITDA margin has also improved significantly from 7.1% to 19%. JK Lakshmi Cement's margin saw an uptick of 250 basis points. Net net profit has more than doubled to 156 crores. Aster DM's revenue was up nearly 24%, but the margins dipped to 17.9%. But the company has reported a net profit of 5,152 crores as compared to 20 crores, and this is mainly on account of a couple of one-offs, which includes exceptional gain as well as spin-off of its GCC business. Apart from that, keep an eye out on Precall, Fino Payments and IFL Securities, good set coming in from them. On the other hand, KRBL and Relaxo reported a weak set of numbers. Infosys also on our radar because DGGI claims Infosys has evaded GST of nearly 32,403 crores. They claim that the company received services from overseas branches and had not paid IGST under RCM on input of services. And lastly, watch out for Bharat Forge, and that is because its arm Kalyani Strategic Systems has been granted a defense license from Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, and this is to manufacture various defense products at its Jejuri unit. So keep an eye out on all of these counters.
Keep an eye out on all of these names, particularly Infosys as well. The ADR ending 2.5% lower last night. Vamakshi, thanks a lot for that. Over to Sudarshan now with cues from the FNO space. Sudarshan, good morning. The big question, is today the day?
Morning, Hormaz. So, well, it looks like that it will hit today, that Nifty is likely to hit 25,000 today's opening tick. At least that's what GIFT Nifty is indicating. And the reason for today's gap up is seen on the back of positive commentary coming from US Fed. US Fed has kept the interest rates unchanged in this month's policy, but has given enough indication that it would like to cut the rates in the next policy, that is in the month of September. Now, coming to flows in our market, we saw FIs trimming their positions in both cash and futures market. In the cash market, FIs have sold shares of almost 3,500 crore, but it was largely offset by DIs, which bought shares of almost 3,400 crore. In the index futures, we saw FIs selling shares of nearly rupees 1,300 crore, with long exposure being cut by 5,100 contracts, and at the same time have added short contracts of more than 8,200. And after that, long-short ratio remains it's constant around 65%, with total net long contracts at around 1.44 lakhs. On the options front, in the call side, most activities were seen in the strikes above 25,000, and on the put side, active strikes were 24,900 and 24,950. Accordingly, resistance for Nifty is now seen somewhere around 25,200, and at the same time support is now seen at 24,850. In these stocks, we have one new entry to the FNO band, that is Granules. Besides that, keep an eye on Maruti and Trent, where fresh longs are seen.
Sudarshan, thanks a lot for that update from the FNO side. We'll keep an eye out on all of these cues. Time for a short break here on Power Breakfast. Up next, we get you important updates on Infosys that faces the demand from the DGGI and the Karnataka state authorities for tax evasion. Stay tuned, back on the other side. Back with us here on Power Breakfast. Now, Infosys is facing a demand from the DGGI and the Karnataka state GST authorities for tax evasion for the period from July of 2017 to 2021-22. Now, Timsy is joining us on the phone line to tell us more on this story. Timsy, good morning. What are you picking up?
Well, that's right. DGGI Bangalore zone claims Infosys for tax evasion of about 32,403.46 crore rupees. Bangalore zone has issued an incident report to Infosys on 30th July. And as per the claims, the company has received services from overseas branches and has not paid IGST under the reverse charge mechanism on import of services. The DGGI Bangalore zone, in a detailed two-pager incident report, has actually said that overseas branches have supplied services to the company and same shall be treated as import of services by the company as per Section 211 of the IGST Act. And to implement the on-site project-related work, the company has set up branch offices outside India for the purpose of carrying out business, and thus, hence, overseas branches would be treated as distinct person. In lieu of receipt of these services from overseas branches, the company has paid consideration to these branch offices from the overseas branch expenses, and thus all of this comes under as part of evasion. And this is the modus that they have claimed, on which the claim worth amount 32,403 crore rupees has been arrived. Meanwhile, reacting to the DGGI claims, Infosys in a statement actually said, and they said, we would like to clarify on this matter. And I quote, Karnataka state authorities have issued a pre-show cause notice for payment of GST of 32,403 crores for the period July 2017 to March 2022 towards expenses incurred by overseas branch offices of Infosys Limited. Subsequent to the publication of the news articles, the company has also received a pre-show cause notice from DGGI on the same matter, and the company is in the process of responding to the same. They also say that the company believes that they have actually cleared all the dues and there are nothing that is unpaid on their side. So let's see whether DGGI gets a satisfactory response or not and how this matter proceeds further.
Timsy, thanks a lot for that update. We'll keep an eye out on Infosys through the day. Time for a short break here on Power Breakfast. Up next, we'll get to the latest on the landslides in Kerala's Wayanad. Stay tuned, back on the other side. Welcome back. The death toll in the landslides in Kerala's Wayanad district has crossed 167. Now, Kerala's chief minister has confirmed that over 1,000 people were rescued from the landslide affected sites, and as many as 8,000 people have been shifted to relief camps in the past 2 days. Now, according to the district administration, 96 bodies were identified and post-mortems of 166 were completed. The leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, and Priyanka Gandhi are expected to visit the landslide affected areas later today. Day 5 of the Olympics was a good run for Team India, with shuttlers Lakshya Sen, HS Pranoy and PV Sindhu moving on to the next round of the pre-quarters, while boxers Lavlina Borgohain grabbed a win on her debut bout and is one fight away from a medal. Now, Deepika Kumari, representing India in archery, also moved to the next round, while table tennis stars Manika Batra and Srija Akula have been knocked out of the round of 16. Now, today, the men's hockey team will go up against Belgium, and in badminton, Chirag Shetty and Satvik Sairaj will play doubles against the Malaysian team, and PV Sindhu will also be playing the singles in the round of 16. And that's all we have on this edition of Power Breakfast. From me and the team that put this show together, thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call takes the action forward.